Agenda is the minutes for February the 12th. You all have those minutes. If there are any questions or comments, suggestions, or corrections.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion's made by Jerry Gilliam, seconded by Ron Jarvis. Roll call vote.
Bush,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Jerry Gilliam,
Yes.
Von Gilliam,
Yes.
Jarvis,
Yes.
and Raleigh.
Yes.
And the next item on the agenda is a special call meeting for February the 26th, 2013. The minutes for that meeting. I believe you have those. They've had those. Any questions, comments, or suggestions?
I make a motion to accept.
Motion by Yvonne Gilliam that the minutes for be accepted. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by David Dixon. A roll call vote.
Bush,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Jerry Gilliam,
Yes.
Von Gilliam,
Yes.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Elliott, Raleigh.
Yes. Elliott Raleigh.
Elliott Raleigh.
Okay, the minutes are accepted. The next item on the agenda is the financial statements. You got yours out?
Robin, can you tell me how much money we have in the LGEA fund?
I can go in here and check right quick.
Okay.
We didn't have no alcohol tax for this period. Got alcohol tax, no police incentive.
Everybody's quit drinking.
That's not hard.
Walk across the fence line. Okay, so nice. There's just one beer.
February's a short month, I'd say that would have a lot to do with that alcohol tax.
What about the police incentive?
I'll have to get her to, that could be about the same thing, but
Because it was only 28 days there?
it could be. I'm not saying, she'll be back in a second, she can answer that.
under disbursements in Black Bear Market, only disbursement I see involves the maintenance department.
That's really for the diesel fuel that we get for the backhoe, and
That's the only thing it's used for? I mean, that's it? This price of $1,613?
For a backhoe?
well, we buy the gas too from them, but
Then why do we?
One department only?
And where's
We don't have anything for the police or anything?
What about the garbage truck? What kind of gas does it?
It's diesel.
So would that be
Wait,
from
what?
Black Bear?
the diesel fuel of the Black Bear Market.
That's the garbage truck.
But yeah, that's
Is that it?
that's
Garbage
That's all
truck.
just garbage truck?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
CNR machine.
I wondered the same thing.
A lot easier if we just got copies of it.
was that the CNR machines was a brake turning a brake that ever
Turning the flywheel for the dump truck.
for the dump truck. Yeah.
Chris, how many employees do you have in the water department?
7, I think. Let's see.
Including
Uh-huh.
seven.
And Frank, how many do you have in your department?
8.
8?
Just recently today, a fellow quit his job.
Okay.
One quit with you.
Frank, you kept your department now really good. Oh, y'all.
Would you repeat that?
Oh, I was noticing the payroll's down in the maintenance department. The water and the police department's up a little bit there. It's a 4-week, wasn't it? Have you
Yeah,
looked at
that's
the
good.
time cards? Let's see.
This one right here.
If I'm not mistaken, there's about 44,000 in the LGEA. But
Which one?
State tax.
Miss Gilliam, I have a,
8.
Does that count for sewer and the water?
yeah,
3, uh-huh. And I understand you guys have to have that overtime.
excuse me,
You have to have some overtime, you guys do.
how much?
still in the situation.
23,000.
Yeah. That's as of right now.
I'll just give him this.
Okay.
After looking at the LGEA balance that we have here,
Did you give it to us all?
$22,926.76. During our budget workshop, it was mentioned that we have a fire truck payment coming up and some funds are tied up with that, so I make a motion that we pay the entire balance
Wait,
for
wait,
the
wait a
fire
second.
truck
Wait.
payment out of that.
Wait, let's stay with the financial statements now as they are. Let's go through them, then the motions and things will come later, okay? Just continue with the financial statements.
What's
If you-
that figure again, that 22?
$22,926.76.
Okay.
Robin, I've just got 2 questions on the water and sewer, chief.
Okay.
That Kentucky State Treasurer fine, close 600, what was that for?
It's from the labor cabinet, wasn't it, Carl? What that last one was on. It's some fines we got from about a year ago, and we
Okay.
finally got them settled in court, and that's a monthly payment.
Okay.
And we pay out right at $7,000 on that.
And on the Kentucky State treasurer's school taxes, is that paid out as a separate
Yeah.
thing by itself? It's not included in with none of the other things? Because I
No.
know a lot of things that got the school taxes in.
Yeah.
So that's a separate thing of its own.
We have to file it just like your state withholdings. It's a one like that.
Yeah, that's one.
I have a question on the water and water account. $95 was reimbursed to the mayor, which was in turn a reimbursement for school for a city employee. Why was the mayor paying for school for an employee?
He took it out of his own pocket, the employee did.
So why'd we reimburse the mayor?
Does he give him the money back?
I gave him his money back. And I expected to get the money back that I reimbursed him for from the city, because we don't have any type of a procedure in effect right now to cover the training, the training requirements, what the standards are, who gets paid what for which, see. But in the past, we've been paying for the training, and I couldn't discontinue it this time, and
It's understandable, I was just a little confused.
Yeah, we definitely need the training. Anytime they need training, we need to pay for it.
I don't understand why the mayor pays it. It should be paid out of city funds to start with.
Yeah.
Well, I was sitting here saying I was thinking we couldn't reimburse Mr. Duncan directly for that training, but we reimburse you?
well, yes, right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Duncan needed his money. I wanted to make sure he got it. He had already made the payment to the school, okay? We would normally make the check out to the school, not to Mr. Duncan. That's the way the procedure should follow.
So he just went ahead and paid it without us paying the school
Without
direct?
any, yes,
So
Okay.
what would be the difference in the reimbursement there and reimbursing an employee for travel? We reimburse that employee directly
Which one's that?
for the police department.
Well, if they take a vehicle, we don't reimburse them, but if they use their own vehicle, we reimburse them.
Would it not be cheaper for the police officer going to the academy to take a city vehicle?
How much was it?
I don't think it would, because it's costing us about, I think
See what it said,
200, what's it cost, about $260 or $160? What is it costing us for?
That's more to take the police car what you're paying now, so you really
Yeah.
have to take it.
$162?
We paid $462.
That's for
That's
2 weeks. That's for 2
Him
weeks.
back and forth to Richmond.
So it's a little over $200 per week that we'd pay him.
It don't cost
$231.
to go to Richmond.
Yeah.
Oh, Alexa, I'm back on. Think of that.
Do we have a mileage rate that we have set that we pay, like a per diem type thing on that, or
It's
how do we reimburse?
35 cents a mile.
35 cents a mile.
Yeah.
Is that something the council adopted or
Yes,
state adopted?
it's in the personnel ordinance.
That's cheap too.
Yeah.
You got,
Yeah.
we're way
Because I told
Yeah.
I think we get 40 something.
You get 41 cents.
We ain't
Is it
traveled
41?
so long, we're
It
not
may
gonna
be.
go on it.
I just know it's always, it benefits me if I take my own vehicle because I'm getting back way more money.
Yeah,
Well,
we used to pay
yeah.
35 cents a mile.
That's why I asked if it would be cheaper.
Any additional questions or comments on the back?
It says reimbursement for unemployment, that's quarterly, right?
For what?
Reimbursement
Reimburse
for
unemployment
unemployment.
insurance.
Yeah.
So we pay them quarterly.
I make a motion, we set financial statements.
Motion
I
by
said we were good at it.
Jerry Gill,
I wonder why we were good.
I think we should accept them personally.
Well, Jerry made a motion, second.
Second the motion.
David went ahead, he said he'd rather second it anyway.
So all those in favor so indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a guest speaker. We have Mr. Brian Ward from the Palmer Engineering, And you can see his charts, and he'll explain what he's here for and what work he's already been done to help us to increase our tourist attraction. So go right ahead, Byron.
I have some handouts for you here.
Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, Ward.
Take it home and look at it and do what you like. Thank you. There you go.
Okay.
Here you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, Mayor, yes, good evening. I'm Brian Ward. I'm with Palmer Engineering. Before we get started, I'll tell you a little about Palmer Engineering myself. Palmer Engineering is centrally located out of Winchester, Kentucky. We have several offices, I think 7 now, in Nashville, Tennessee, Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, a couple offices in Ohio, one in West Virginia, different locations, and we specialize in civil engineering. All branches of civil engineering, we have a structural division, water resource division, which primarily what I normally do is water resources, environmental group, highway transportation, surveying department. So we do all facets of civil engineering with the exception of geotechnical, which is subsurface. I myself, as I mentioned, I specialize in water resources. With that, I do a fair amount of grant writing, which is why I'm here today to look at what type of project we have here and grant opportunities for that and that process. I've handed each of you an outline here to go through. The first thing I was wanting to cover is basically the recreational trails program, the basic information in that. In the following pages, you can see in your packet there, it should outline the basic requirements and have quite a bit of general information, such as the minimum standards for a trail, if you wanted to do a trail, which is I think on page 3, width, minimum width, lengths, uses, things of that nature. The permissible uses for the grant funds, any grant funds that you receive, what they can be used for, things such as construction of a trail or maintenance of a trail, things of that nature. And there's also a list of things that grant funds cannot be used for, such as like you can't construct on like National Forest Service lands. There's some other like sidewalks. You can't build a sidewalk with the trails funds or recreational trail program funds, things of that nature. There are 2 categories of uses that you boil down to. One is motorized and the other is non-motorized. With the non-motorized, walking, bicycling, hiking, equestrian, horse riding, many different uses you can use. And motorized are limited to basically your off-road type vehicles, ATVs, and even 4-wheel drives as well. And with this program, once you get into the program and get into the process, you have certain requirements you have to meet, which are also outlined in the information I've given you, such as your quarterly reports, and then your construction inspection reports during construction. Maintaining your records, you need to keep the records for 3 years after the project's complete, and the details of the cost sharing program. Any non-motorized trail is a 50-50 share. Basically, for every $1 that the government will put up towards a trail, they expect either $1 from the local community or $1 in the form of an in-kind service. For example, if you were putting down a rock trail, then the city could use the grant funds to buy the rock, to use the truck, the city dump truck, and maybe backhoe to haul the rock and place the rock and walk it in. That would be a good sharing cost of that one individual construction item. And another thing about the cost sharing is it's paid up front and then submit for reimbursement, which, you know, there would need to be a financial mechanism in place in order to do that. I want to give you all the basic information up front, so you'll be, when we get into the actual nuts and bolts of the project and options that you all have, you'll be more familiar with those. Process is basically you complete the grant application and submit it to the Department of Local Government. The grant application, if you choose to do one, is March 29th. And in addition to that, you'll have to submit for environmental clearance to what's known as the e-clearinghouse. That's an online submittal where the environmental overview and basic information about the project is submitted via the e-clearinghouse website, and all the environmental agencies throughout the state will cross-review that document, the maps, the project details, the environmental groups like U.S. Forestry Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, Heritage Nature Preserves, Kentucky Division of Water. You know, all these different groups will review this project, if you so choose to do the project, at that time during that grant review process. The e-clearinghouse does not have to be complete to get at the time of the submittal, but it does not have to be reviewed at the time of the grant submittal, but it needs to be submitted at the time of the grant submittal. So it will need to be submitted at the 29th as well. Then you have the grant review process, and one point I'd like to really make, and a lot of communities mess up at this point, is when you enter the program, you have to follow their schedule. So for example, if you have a project and you want to say you have availability and you want to go ahead and clear that project to start work. So if you clear that project before they release you for construction on schedule, then those funds are not eligible for reimbursement or an in-kind service. So you'd need to wait and follow their schedule as you go through the process. So I wanted to really bring that out up front. And then once they've reviewed the process, it's been accepted, then you would have a consultant design, hopefully me, but you never know, design the facilities in accordance to how it is outlined in the grant. You have some flexibility with that, but basically design, and then you construct those facilities and start submitting for your cost reimbursements as needed. Like I said, I kind of skimmed over the front half. You have all this information in the packet that I provided. Now let's look at the project, or the project options. As you can see here, we've got some maps up here. When I first came down and met with the mayor a few weeks ago, we went around and looked at what all y'all had and see what we can do. And one of the things that was interesting, if you see this blue cyan line here, we were talking about a possible trolley from here, Cumberland, to the Creekside Glen at the Morizzo Center. Well, I've since investigated that and spoke with Jody McDonald at DLG, which she'd never been asked a question like that before, so she had to, in return, contact her contact with the Federal Highway Administration, and it's actually not eligible through the Recreational Trails Program. However, there's a pretty good chance that it may be eligible through a new grant program coming up called Transportation Alternatives. It's basically going to be a subsequent grant program similar to the Transportation Enhancement Grant Program, which is basically they've accepted all their applications and it's closed out, and now they're spending that money that's been appropriated. But once those funds run out in the next year or so, then they'll be opening up for the Transportation Alternative Program, which may be a good fit for this type of project. So I would advise keep your eyes open on that in the future. And the good thing about that is we know the non-motorized RTP is 50-50 match. Well, the Transportation Alternative is an 80-20 match. basically for every $20 you put in, they'll put in 80 and not just 20. So that would be, that would work as well, which is similar to the motorized section of this trail. The motorized section is an 80-20 for the recreational trails program as well. Okay, let's look at our project here. So with that kind of off the radar for this grant, we're really looking at the red lines that traverse throughout the city of Cumberland, and basically the terminus at the, I don't know the name of that street, but it's where the bridge crosses, the railroad bridge crosses over the creek or the river and goes on up towards Creekside Glen. If I'm not mistaken, that building is scheduled to be taken down by the Army Corps of Engineers because it's in the floodplain. So that would be a good hub location, not only for your trail project and potential parking, but also in the future for, say, trolley loading and things of that nature, if that works out. Looking at our trail, the east, or actually the west side of Cumberland, you have about 5,400 linear feet of potential trail outlined here. And to the west, from this connection point here to the west, I think I drew it in at 5,975 feet. So both of them are a little over a mile. And with that, next to the last page in your packet, I've outlined a cost estimate of not only those trails, but the trolley route as well, what I would envision the total cost of everything, which when you're looking at it, it looks scary up front, but keep in mind these programs, you can phase them. You can do part of it over here and other part over on the other side to get you matched. You can next year come in and do some maintenance on the first part yourself and get credit for that while you add some more trail to the other side. There's a lot you can mix and match, and a lot at your leisure. And my goal here today is not to convince you either way, one way or the other. It's more or less to inform you to where you can make your own decisions and decide what you want to do. As you can see here, you've got your construction improvement. It's on the left column there. I've got them highlighted like 5 sections. First is your west walking trail, 5,400 feet, which I showed you here. Second, the grouping there would be your east walking trail and the associated cost estimate there. And you've got a trail intersection area here, which is some sort of rail switching station. There's an extra area in there, and you can do some intersection improvements, maybe benches and picnic tables or whatever you want, if you so choose. Also put some funds in there to develop a trailhead for that building supposedly is going to be torn down. And I also put, even though it's a completely different grant program, for your information, I went ahead and done some estimating on, on some improvements to the 10.2 miles of rail up to Creekside Glen for a potential trolley. And I've also done some research online regard to some open passenger cars and things of that nature. And another, I believe, in talking with the mayor, you may have access to some sort of engine to pull something at another county or something that they're not using that they may be willing to donate as well. And that would also qualify as in-kind contribution that you could use as part of your match. To kind of highlight some of the flexibility you have, if you look at the, before we switch pages, if you go on to the second column there, it says quantity. That's basically your quantity of the item you're improving. And then you've got your units, whether it be acres, linear feet, square yards, tons of aggregate or asphalt. And the next 2 columns is, look, I kind of split out what I would think would be funded by grant proceeds, with the unit price and the total price being those 2 columns, which is column number 4 and 5. If you look at column 6 and 7 there, that would be in-kind contributions, things that the city of Cumberland may have access to, such as a dump truck or a track hoe or a backhoe, where they can do some of that work themselves with current staff things of that nature. I did not include any monetary contributions, but those could certainly be added if you so desire. And then at the end, you have the total cost in the last column, where the grant proceeds and the in-kind should add up to that total. And the last page basically took some different options you could choose for phase one and kind of mixed and matched, so you could basically see how it would work. With option one, I decided, well, what if we wanted to construct the west side trail only, 5,400 feet, and rather than put the asphalt down to begin with, maybe do it with some sort of gravel, like a traffic-bound base, which could be compacted relatively hard, and it would wear really well. And you can see there in option one, phase one, gravel only, how that would match out in terms of the grant proceeds versus the in-kind contributions and the total cost. One of the big cost items on the west side is the bridge repair to convert that railroad bridge to a pedestrian bridge, which our engineers our structural engineers have had quite a bit of experience doing that, and they really surprised me with the numbers they were throwing at me. But if you notice there, to do the convert that bridge over, and like I said, all we had to go by was a picture and looking at it. We would expect that to be anywhere from 45 to 50,000 up to anywhere of 70,000 to convert that bridge. I know we did one recently, almost just like that. This bridge is about 1,600 square feet, and the one we recently done up in Ohio was 2,000 square feet, and that bridge was in quite a bit worse shape than this one. I know we had to do some repair work on the substructure as well, but it was in the order of 95 to 100,000 to completely repair that bridge for both pedestrians and bicycling. With that, you don't have to go across that bridge. Right up front, you can maybe go up to the switching yard and cut back the other way. And like I said, you can mix and match. One of the things that I did with this estimating, I assumed a 10-foot wide trail because that's a good width for a shared use trail, such as if someone, which of course if you bicycle on it, you'd want to pave it. So you can have some cycling lanes on one side and maybe some pedestrian walk on the other. But anyway, that's with gravel, and you can see the total cost there for that section and the in-kind contributions versus the grant proceeds. Looked at another option, too, which is to just come from that building right here and come up to the road right where that pedestrian bridge would be located. Now, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about looking at the map, but the pedestrian bridge I keep talking about is the one with the metal beams that come up above the decking. It would kind of look like a railing, and it's right up here. One of the things, and one of the reasons that bridge would be expensive to repair, is, especially for biking, is because you have those interior braces that will somehow have to be shielded off to keep from snagging bicycles and walkers and things of that nature. And that's not the only reason. Well, anyway, moving on, option two would be to do a complete paved trail for about 1,000 feet in here. And you have your estimating there. One of the unknown items I had in there is the removal of the existing rail that's in place there. I don't know if that's something the railroad would come and remove for you, or if you'd have to have a contractor remove that. I went ahead and included that in the cost, which drove the cost up quite a bit. But as you can see, though, if you took the cost of removing that rail out, then the gravel option, you could easily meet your in-kind service obligations with the equipment you have, and you'd have to evaluate, your staff availability and if they could do some of that. Any questions at this point?
Do you all own, that's CSX property you're talking
Yes.
about, right?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get to that here shortly.
But some of that's already blocked off.
Yeah, is it?
Oh, yeah, it's covered up completely with people's property that took it that probably didn't get permission. And the bridge you're talking about's already been scheduled for demolition at one time because the flood washed it out. That's why it's dropped.
Okay. That would be part of the structural analysis and all that as part of the project.
Yeah. And as far as that rail, the switch yard you're talking about, Pete Pointer actually bought that.
You bought it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, I'm sure there's still a small section for that the track that went through there, but the whole switching yard he bought.
Okay. He may have bought the track too. Those are all things that would need to be investigated. Anyway, when you were mentioning about the rail, it's, in talking with the mayor that he has spoken to, I can't remember her first name, Miss Steele with CSX, and I've been trying to contact her as well. We all know how easy it is to get a hold of the railroad. But that supposedly, as you said, is abandoned. But as far as I know, they still seem to claim they own it.
They do.
And
That's what they say. That's what they've told everybody.
so one thing that we would need if you were to pursue a grant, one thing you would need before or to go in with that grant application would be a letter of intent from the railroad, basically stating pending the grant approval, they would, it is their intent to turn over that property to the city of Cumberland in accordance to that grant. And these type of projects and those type of letters are being done all over the state, so they're very familiar with it. Ms. Steele, that's actually her position, is she oversees the Rails to Trails program for the railroad company. That's probably why we can't get in touch with her, because she's so busy with the others. And we see a lot of trail projects because Palmer Engineering, we're one of 3 consultants selected on the statewide contract for local public agency improvements, which includes a lot of rail trail projects. So we do lots of them through the state transportation cabinet as well. Moving on in, and I don't know if we want to go through all these options, but to basically summarize, for gravel, to meet your in-kind service, you can, depending on how much workload you can handle, you can pretty much meet your in-kind contributions with a gravel trail. With the exception of a few items, like if this rail had to be removed, and obviously that'd be an additional cost. Maybe CSX would take the rail up, you wouldn't have to worry about it. But as far as paved goes, you're probably needing around 30% of your in-kind contribution if you wanted to pave it. So that's on average per linear foot. So whatever length you decided to pursue, and just keep in mind that somewhere about 20% of that in-kind service or monetary contribution would have to come from either private sources or the city of Cumberland and things of that nature. Your big ticket items are definitely your bridges. They're bridges. They're old and they have to be updated and maintained. That's pretty much all I have in terms of trying to give you guys an idea of what your options are. And another thing, as far as your in-kind contributions go, is in meeting with the mayor, and I know Gary Sharp, one of the other directors at our company, is pretty close to the mayor, and we agreed to donate of our time to an in-kind service up to $5,000. So basically, all the time that's on the clock right here, we're donating to the city of Cumberland, and we will issue a statement, and those funds can be used as an in-kind service as well. So with that, I'd ask if you have any questions or any comments, or
Have you approached the tourism department about this?
I have not.
There's,
The tourism
I'm
department.
sure the same thing.
I'm the director.
Yeah.
I'm Tracy. Actually, we have a Trail Town program right now that we're working through the state of Kentucky. I don't know, are you familiar with Elaine Wilson. She's the State Adventure Tourism Director
Yes.
up in Frankfurt. This program, actually, she came to us about 2 years ago, and they have, well, they're working on different trails all over the state of Kentucky, but in order to be eligible to be designated a trail town and have that designation, which gives you marketing and all these things that are free, then we have to meet those qualifications of being a trail town.
Yes.
So we have been meeting monthly, I guess now for the last, I want to say a good 6 months. And we have 5 different committees right now. We're working on the bicycle trail, which we actually wanted to come off of Black Mountain down into the city of Lynch and Benham and on into Cumberland, which would be one of the largest this side of, heck, I don't know. I want to say I know the state, but I don't know if it goes farther than that. Anyway, it'd be similar to the Virginia Creeper Trail. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with that. But so we've looked at similar things I know that you're talking about, and I know the rail bed has been an issue that we discussed. Actually, the mayor was at the last meeting, and he brought this and said that Mr. Palmer was going to be here tonight. So, you know, we've looked at this stuff. We first got to see who owns that rail bed. You know, that's going to be an issue too, because I know you're right, Pete Pointer got some of that property, and then we were still unfamiliar with what Lonnie's section was going to do, because I know they're bringing that road in up there, so that's going to be an issue also. But I mean, the tourism is on board with that, and we've looked at some of the rails to trails grants and those type of things, and I know Elaine's been very supportive so far with that. So they've helped us all we can, but the first priority, if I'm not mistaken, is you got to make sure you have that property in order to do that construction on that piece of property, right?
Yeah, you don't have to have it, but you just have to have a letter of
Of
intent
intent.
from each of the owners stating that you have access to it pending grant approval.
And I'm not sure, well, how long do you have to have that? Is that a indefinite intent that you can use that property? Is it 99 years? Is it 25 years? Or
Well, no, it's forever.
That's what I thought.
Once you use the money for the program, that the city of Cumberland will have to maintain those facilities indefinitely.
My primary concern was to make sure that the council was on board with it. Then the railroad has promised a permissive agreement at one time. This Miss Beth Steele, but before we go anything, it's up to the council for us to proceed as Byron says, or what it's. I wanted to get their approval or disapproval, yay or nay. In other words.
As far as the tourism aspect of it, I mean, it'd be great. You know, if you could actually pull that trolley in here, yeah, it's going to be a tourism attraction. And with all the other things that we plan that are to come in the short future, then that would be an added asset. So.
And the county has a machine, an engine that was donated to the county by Arch or U.S. Steel that's down at the yard at Lowell that they said we could actually use to, if it fit the needs. It's a little engine, a train engine that could be used on if we did put a trolley, if it went that far.
That would have to be There would be other grants, so.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of groundwork that still needs to be laid before we can even consider something like this. There's, you know, there's a lot of groundwork, so.
There's a lot of unknowns.
There's a lot of unknowns about finances for the city right now.
Oh yeah, but you're talking about years down the road. I mean, you know, you're talking about 4 or 5 years before you probably see the first ride or in a trolley or anything. But you got to get started somewhere. And somehow, but you know, you're right, Yvonne. We've got a lot of research to do. But
Especially with the properties.
Properties and
Hey,
monies.
Mayor, can I ask, when was is CSX supposed to get you that?
they keep. First of all, they were going to give us a permissive agreement. Then they came up and they said that the property had been abandoned, but they still owned it. And they said it would probably be easier for us to acquire the property since it's been abandoned than if they were still keeping it active.
Right.
And I don't know if it means a tax write-off for them or what, you know, something of that nature. But right now,
That would be something that would be in the near future, correct?
Yeah,
That would
it
be the
could,
first thing to do, would be to acquire the
that's
land,
it,
I would
yeah.
think, you know.
Now, this grant has to be written over March 29th.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, that's not a short time for such a big decision.
But now,
See another grant?
what,
It's a year, it's a yearly grant.
Okay.
It is.
There was one last year, there's one this year, there'll be another one next year.
So we would have a year then to
yeah, yeah.
take a
We
year to get
really
everything set.
need to, I mean, and I hate to say, and I'd love to see something like this go, but we gotta look at other obstacles, the finances of the city,
Mhm.
and the economy of the coal mining around here right now is
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
True.
And if it's stopped, the city, we're gonna start seeing financial difficulties on down a few months down the line.
That's true.
That we're not predicting, so
Yeah.
right now, for us to take any additional finance burden on, I think would be a bad time. The timing's just not right.
And I think with the tourism already working on a project, we should wait and see what goes with them, to see how to join in or something.
We, I mean,
I mean, they've been
we're all
working on this
working
for
together
2
on
Yeah,
that, but
right.
the mayor's been working on this before Trailtown ever,
Yeah.
and
That's,
And I'm
he
not
respect,
against,
I mean, he was working on that before Trailtown ever came into place. And he got farther with CSX than we did, so, you know, he got her attention. And the mayor can do that more than the treasurer director, you know, the mayor has a little more clout in that area in getting those.
I wonder about that.
But, yeah.
But,
I mean, it's a wonderful idea.
It is a wonderful idea. I'd love to.
It's wonderful.
Finances are just too unstable.
Yeah, just keep in mind though, it's, you know, you look at the whole project, it looks overwhelming, but if you look at it in the form of baby steps, you know, an increment at a time, I mean.
I'm just curious if CSX will even let go of that property, because some of the people that's tried have failed miserably to even try it. Some of them have covered up the tracks and said, oh, well, I own that property now. And CSX says no. So I wonder, how would you go about, I mean, would you just go around it if you had to?
no.
Yeah, you have to stay on the.
That's what I thought.
Right of way alignment.
I looked at some deeds, for revisionary clauses, but that's a time-consuming task right there, because you're looking at maybe 50 different individuals that have properties between here and Meridio Center.
Well, I ain't going up
Yeah.
here by Food City.
Well, that's not one of the tracks that we're
Well, it's
concerned
still a
with.
trail.
But why is one of the track, why does the
One is
track
a trolley and
even
one's
go
a
up
walk.
to there?
Huh?
Why would the track even go up to there?
Where?
That's in Letcher County, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes into Letcher County,
I
yeah.
know, but why would we want to go into Letcher County? Looks like Letcher County would be on board with it too, is what I'm saying.
Well,
As far as finances goes, if we do it.
But you're looking at a couple of years before the 10
Yeah.
transportation alternative grants even come out.
Yeah.
So the trolley and the rail system and all that, that's in the future.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is kind of in the future. Finances are just too unstable at the present time to make a decision.
You understand?
It really is. It's a beautiful concept, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything looks really, really glim right now with the economy and what's happening with the coal mines, and all the cities they're not getting any bigger. That means the money's getting really tight, so I'm looking to see some of the cities have to make some major cuts.
You did make a statement earlier, though, that rails and trails funding will end. Did you say that was going to
No,
end?
transportation enhancement funding,
Will begin.
it'll be ending in the next year or so whenever it runs out of money, and then transportation alternative grant funding will be taking its place. As far as I know, the rails to trails, I mean, they're anticipating, I know, this year, next year, and at least the next year, probably longer. But, you know, who knows with the government.
Well, we could keep this on our docket and bring it back up when the time is more suitable and financially speaking and things. And I'd say a couple of years, we should be able to start this, to get it underway if things improve. But if they don't improve, we'll probably be selling what we got, you know.
Yeah, we'll be selling everything we got.
So Brian, I appreciate you coming in and making a presentation, and it's a good opportunity for us, and we need to look at these things so that we can advance.
And all the information on outline and business, those are yours. I'm gonna leave the exhibits with you as well, so you can use them. And if I can give any more assistance, just let me know.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
I don't have any kind of budget we can spend on, so.
Yeah, yeah.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come up with something.
Thank you, Brian.
Carl, may I add something to that? Jerry made a very true comment about the coal going out. I feel that is all the more reason we need to start considering the future. Because that coal's going out, we have to find another revenue for the city. One way or another, we've got to do something, or there's going to be nothing left for us.
We've got the barriers, now if we had the trolley, we'd be another Dollywood. Yeah.
And you know what's sad, Frank, I'm talking to buildings just in the last 4 weeks, a lot of clients and people I've talked to, you know, they say if something doesn't change, then they're moving out, they're leaving.
I hear it myself quite
I
often.
mean, you know, and this is every day, I talk to people every day, clients and so forth. And their next move.
This tourism pretty much saved the town of Everett. Everett is a whole new city right now. And we need to bring that here to try to save this town. We have everything here to offer that Everett has.
I don't think so.
Sir, I have a question. Does it have to be a city that applies for the grant, or could the tourism department apply for the grant?
She said no.
I believe it has to be,
Tracy
I
said
think it
no.
says in that pack, I think it's a municipality.
Yeah,
or
it
city.
does. It says our city or
We
something
can apply
like
for it, because I have the grant offer.
Yeah.
There you go.
You can? Yeah.
Oh, I thought
And
they said
actually,
no.
Miss Gothard was supposed to be here tonight, but she's
She's
sick as
sick,
a dog.
yeah, I got the flu.
And so, yeah, so she had to cancel, but now they're working, I know, on one grant already, because there's two different sides of that, like you said, motorized and the non-motorized
Yes.
for trails, so
Or
they
you
are.
can mix and match too.
Right. So,
There you go.
we will be applying for at least one side of that,
He
I know
got
that we will be
Paul's-
applying for.
Paul Miller's letter.
Now, I don't know if it'll include this section yet that he's talking about,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have the, we wanna make sure we have the right of way to it before we
At
turn
least
that in.
access to it.
At least access, exactly. Because I know people lost their residence because of that.
They really look down upon that too. If you apply, you don't have to win, or at least something to tie the land up. Very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
It's okay, I'll head on out.
You have
If y'all need
something?
anything else, let me know.
Sure will. We'll be keeping in touch, and the Tourist Commission too.
Because of this right here.
You're gonna leave your,
Yeah, he said you could have it.
okay. The next item, Paul, would you want to address the council now?
Yes, sir.
He's
Council.
from Leo Miller's.
And, Mayor, you got the invoices, the copies? Has
Yeah.
everybody got one?
Nope.
There's 7 of them.
Yeah. But you want all 7 of them back, right?
I want 6 of them back. You can keep one for your records.
I'll need these back, okay? Because he'll have to take them back after they're signed, okay?
Don't ride.
But if you could read through that, take a minute, read through that, and get an understanding of what's going on in the project right now.
According to the procedures, the council has to approve the invoices for this mitigation project. Isn't that right, Paul?
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead, don't let me...
I believe that's how it's set up. I think, when we started this process 3 years ago, we gave the mayor the right to sign any and all documents, but now we've got to where the funding has been secured. The loan with the Bank of Harlan's been set up. The money's ready to be used.
And you're ready to put it to use?
We're ready to use.
You sure?
We're under design, yes.
That-
Positive, sure.
There's one thing though, and I'm sure that Chris will back me up on this. Our priority should be the lift stations.
Yes,
We've got-
we're working, designing the lift stations presently, actively. We've been doing those for the past 3 months. Lift stations are gonna have more work, more design into them. Obviously, the sirens will be ready to go to bid in the next month. Generators following that, I'm estimating the lift stations within 3 months to go to bid on them.
What about this culvert?
We just secured funding with the bank a month ago.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. just about a
But,
month ago.
but see, right now, we're renting, we had to purchase one outside up ground, on top of the ground pump, and we're renting 2 more, while the other pumps that's underground are not functioning, okay?
Right, I'm fully aware, since
And-
we started this in February 2010, writing the grant, and going through this process, those lift stations have been out of order.
Is there any way we could change the scope of work and move the lift stations first?
We're moving as fast as we can. We're actually designing lift stations right now.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, I hope to have those out to bid within the next 3 months. There's gonna be some property that we might have to obtain for those, and as well as for the culverts around Food City. We might have to, we'll bring in those plans for you to look over and what we're.
You're gonna move the lift stations from where they're located in?
No, lift stations are going back.
Underground?
They are,
Yeah.
except lift station number 1, we may move it down to where
Herbert Creech is
Creech
right.
is,
Yeah.
probably, which is not owned by him anymore. They bought him out for those buildings there.
Is
The
that
city
the one
shall.
close to the water plant, Chris?
Sewer
plant.
I mean, sewer
Yeah.
plant.
That's the
Yeah,
main
no
one
one
there that
sitting right
passes
there
through
yet.
it.
What about this culvert that runs into the street up there? Is that gonna be one of the first?
That's gonna be one of the culverts, the culvert projects replaced.
So I guess what the audience like here is what is the first project that's gonna go?
Sirens is gonna be the first one to go within, hopefully within the next month. We've got that ready, the specs done. It's with KU today, on the power. So we'll have that advertised to bid within the next 30 days. And then actively working on culverts. The generators aren't gonna be a
Is
big
this gonna be
deal.
simultaneously working on these projects, or?
They will be going, it'll be different contractors.
I mean, we're not gonna have to wait in stages, I mean, you can pretty
No,
much
they'll
start.
be separate, separate contracts, but lift stations will be done by different contractors than the sirens.
Show six lift stations, I thought we had 6.
4. We got 4 lift stations.
Four is all of them.
We do have 7.
Hey, Chris,
Only 4 are within the floodway.
what's the condition of the remaining 3? The one that's not being worked on, 5, 6, and 7?
Well, number 6 isn't too bad. There's only one pump that's functioning in it. Doesn't have a backup pump, and the electrical's pretty rough. Number 7 is the newest one. Number 5 is awful.
Awful?
One pump and it jumps around like a Audi down in it. We did have some work done to that last summer through Charles Key because it kept having a problem with lines getting clogged and things like that.
The way I understand it, FEMA's already said this is the way you're gonna spend the money.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it's laid out.
Even
Yeah,
though we got
and
3
the other
more.
list, the reason we got these lift stations in is because they're in the
They're in the
floodway.
flood
3 more,
plain.
we can't.
Yeah, well, they're in the floodway.
Yeah.
The culverts were flooded, and the generators and sirens were something that you just applied for.
And we were getting
Yeah.
hit with some fines on some of this, if we didn't get it replaced, like those stations, and I believe that even the sirens were something that, we weren't getting hit with a fine, but we were mandated to have those things.
Which you may be up to date or not, with the new council. The project was awarded, it started in February 2010, and we started applying for the grant, and then it was awarded back in May of 2012, and then since then, we've had to secure the funds. Same thing FEMA, you guys spend it, then they reimburse you. FEMA's 90% of the project, then state's 270,000, that money's there, and then the city had to come up with 30,000 to match, which the county.
Get
put
that
back.
signature page ready.
So, all you need is a signature?
I need a signature for this, and then we'll send it out to Cumberland.